So I want all of you to understand the importance of talking back to ourselves. If you start talking back to yourself, it can bring a tremendous result within you. It can bring a lot change within you. Take for example, there are so many people nowadays who felt lonely instead having hundreds of followers and so many people around them, but instead they are feeling lonely because people are not talking back to themselves. Our brain is continuously providing us thought. Whatsoever we see, whatsoever we read, whatsoever we assume, everything we did, our brain is continuously providing more than 64,000 thoughts each single day. And if we are not categorizing, if we are not talking back to our brain, yes, you are going right, yes, this time you are providing me the wrong thought. If we are not talking back to ourselves deep within, if you don't try to understand our brain and accept him and suggest him that these things is going to work, these things are not as per my expectation, so provide me thought that is related with my expectation. If we start talking back to ourselves and if we try to, that is called as feedback loop, if we try to give feedback to our brain that yeah, these point you have suggested me is wrong, these point you have suggested me is right, and I'm going to work on it. If we somehow start a little bit talking to our brain, not physically verbally saying something, but deep within our mind, there are always 2 points. One is always saying to do something and one is saying don't do this. But the point is, if we interfere in that and if we say, hey, this is my point and I want this thing to happen like this, suggest me like that, and it will work accordingly. So listen, this is a whole machine. It is not a mechanical machine like car where we can just make it work with some random logic. It is a living machine. This body is a living machine and you have to control it with your emotions as well as your logic. So only logic if you apply, if you think that your brain is working and you are working through your brain, it's not always that. There are always different standpoint in the same brain, because it has developed some kind of logic and it has now emotions as well. So he has a different standpoint based upon his previous experience. So it is very important that we define ourselves. We need to talk back to ourselves in accordance with formulating further thoughts. People are getting anxious, people are feeling lonely only because they are not giving importance to talking back. Brain is continuously asking questions to ourselves. If we are not answering, he will presume some answers based upon previous experience. So instead of having brain to generalize or formalize anything itself, we can suggest him what we think, what we perceive. If we can give 5 to 10 minutes each day to look up to seeing what our brain is asking ourselves, he may be asking some of very important question to you so that he can get clarity in life, and you are ignoring that due to whatever reason you are ignoring it. But the point is, you are ignoring some of the questions your brain is continuously asking. So if we can answer those questions, if we can understand our brain in some more detail so that it feel comfortable within ourselves, the people who don't talk to themselves, the people who don't talk to their brain or don't answer the questions of their brain, are easily convinced by the ideas of society. Those are the people that are vulnerable to the things that are trending. They always try to go with the flow. So if you are not talking back to yourself, if you are not giving feedback to your brain, it will work on random basis, and that randomness generally comes from everything that it sees and experience in society. So it will also advise you on similar basis. But if you try to get feedback, if you try to give feedback to your brain, if you start seeing what it is saying, and if you try to answer those questions that your brain asked to you, and the things that your brain needs you to understand, and the things where your brain needs your clear standpoint, there are so many points on which we are biased, and so our brain is. We need to give as much clarity as we can to our thoughts, and so it will provide us with further thoughts, and you will feel content deep within yourself. You will feel yourself that yeah, your brain doesn't have so many things. There are people who have so much thing going inside their brain, and they are not talking to anyone outside and not even talking to themselves. They are not in a condition to understand themselves. Your brain always needs your standpoint on different thing it sees and perceives. So if you can give him a standpoint, that's the best way. But if you don't, it will generally take that from the experience, or it will try to copy it from someone else, and that will create a different kind of expectation within yourself, and that too led to some kind of misery and all. So the thing I want to make you realize is, it is something that is being suggested by some of the most successful people, who are not successful only in terms of money, but who are successful in terms of their mental growth, their personality growth, and everything. So those people suggest your power of self understanding, your power of subconscious mind. And subconscious mind comes into role only when we try to interfere between the thoughts going inside our brain randomly. Like for example, affirmation is in trend these days. People are suggesting to affirmate things like, I can do this, I can achieve this, it is easy for me. People are saying to speak these things to yourself. Why they are saying so? You should come and interrupt in between your brain conversation, so that your brain gets clarity and you too get clarity in life. Whenever your brain is, you can feel the clarity of any person with talking to him or while you are with him. The clarity in brain only comes when you have conversation with brain, and the conversation is clear cut. You have your clear standpoints. There are times when you don't able to formulate a clear standpoint, but there are very few moments of such type. Majority of time you have a clear standpoint, but you are not talking back to your brain and saying, this is the standpoint and I am going to stay on it. If you just say this thing, your brain afterward give you suggestion based on that, and it will try to somehow achieve that in order to make your standpoint into realistic. Your whole life becomes a lot more easier and comfortable. If you are not comfortable inside your brain, how can you assume that you will be comfortable in the society? If I am deeply content within myself, if I have clear thought in my brain, if things are going right inside my brain, then I can expect things to be right in my life as well, in society as well. So start talking back to yourself whenever you get time or whenever you feel so. Don't try to ignore your brain, because no one else is going to talk to him. Only you can talk to him. You can talk to anybody outside. The amount of satisfaction and the importance of clarity that you will get while talking to your brain, because it has a lot of experience to share with you. You can, with the help of your imagination, talk to your brain and make things absolutely clear inside your brain. So thank you so much. We will be meeting with such more interesting things in future as well, and so thank you so much.